Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Sunny Side of the Dome. I'm your host, Karen Soutar, and I'm here to talk some Blue Jays baseball with you for the next half hour or so. Sunny Side of the Dome is brought to you by Jays from the Couch. We stream live Thursdays at 6 p.m., and you can catch us on Jays from the Couch's YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter page. And if you are following along live, catching the live stream, and you think of a question or comment, please do send them all in. I think that makes the show just that much better, more interesting to have viewer interaction. And if you don't catch the live show, but you'd still like to check us out, no problem. When you're ready for us, we're ready for you. You can catch the archived version on Facebook, Twitter, or the YouTube channel. And now you can also download and listen to it as a radio podcast. So lots of convenient options. Very exciting to have that accessibility. And if you'd like the content at Sunny Side of the Dome, there's lots more where that came from. There's Jays from the Couch's main podcast, which is Mondays at 6 p.m., hosted by Shaun Doyle, our founder, senior editor, and he's always got lots of interesting things going on. And the other YouTube show / podcast is the Unfect Circle, which is Tuesdays 6 p.m. That's hosted by my Jays from the Couch colleague, Steve Feck, and he's always got lots of interesting things. His viewpoints are very unique. You'll be entertained, you'll be informed, and lots to watch. So definitely check it out if you haven't been doing so already. So, hello, Blue Jays fans. Happy Thursday evening. How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty well. 2 days in a row, guaranteed that our Blue Jays will not lose. Yes, they're going through a little bit of a rough stretch. Personally, I'm not all that worried about it, but I will definitely get to all that in a little bit. So first, before we get to the heart of the order, leading off, as always, transactions, comings and goings. Let's see what's going on with the team up to this moment. So pitching, a lot of different moves pitching-wise. So Anthony Banda, I think they DFA'd him, and anyway, he's no longer with the organization. He was signed by the Seattle Mariners, I believe, to a minor league contract. So, I mean, wish him all the best. He appeared in 7 games for the Blue Jays, and his numbers were so-so, not great, not terrible. Earned run average of 4.26. FIP pretty close to that, actually, 4.38, so not really gaining or losing much by the defense around him. And I mean, again, he's fine for some teams, and see if he can put something together in the minors. When you're looking at a team like the Toronto Blue Jays, they're looking for a deep playoff run, and they want guys who can help them in leverage situations or whatever. And when they traded for the 2 pitchers, Bass and Pop, who've both done better so far this season, they needed the roster space. So that's basically what that was there. Matt Peacock was actually designated for assignment, and actually that's part of some other moves. So the Blue Jays made an interesting free agent signing a couple of days ago. They signed veteran outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. So for those of you who might not know, Bradley, he's in his early 30s. He spent most of his career with the Boston Red Sox. He left the Red Sox as a free agent 2 seasons ago and signed a 2-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. Really didn't have a good season. Ended up being traded back to the Red Sox, and they actually DFA'd and released him. So being a free agent, the Blue Jays decided to take a chance on him. So they needed roster spots. So for the 40-man spots, they DFA'd pitcher Matt Peacock. And I couldn't remember how he had even done with the Blue Jays for good reason. I checked on his stats and there weren't any. not with the Jays anyway. Jays picked him up and added him to the roster, and he'd been up and down a bit, but never even got into any games. So really, it's not like they were giving up anybody that they were using in that way. And they also needed a 26-man spot. And so Otto Lopez, who had been called back up, was optioned back down. I kind of feel for Otto Lopez. I mean, he got into 3 games with the Blue Jays this season, but he hasn't even had an at-bat, not even a plate appearance. He's come in defensively, obviously, or as a pinch runner. This is a prospect, I think, who has some talent. And again, he's a raw rookie. The Blue Jays have got to, on a daily basis, go with who they think gives them the best chance to win now. And that's not a knock on Otto Lopez, but again, you need somebody with the experience who's shown that you can help, that they can help you win now. Let me get all that straight there. I'm really hoping that he gets a chance to show what he can do in Major League Baseball. I don't know if that's going to be with the Blue Jays. He might even be a candidate to be traded in the offseason. Who knows? But we'll see. In any case, so Jackie Bradley Jr., he's on the roster for now. At first, I didn't really understand the move because, again, this is someone, he's a major league veteran. He's a left-handed hitter, and everybody knows ad nauseum how much the Blue Jays keep wanting to add a left-handed hitter. I mean, anyone can be a left-handed hitter. You want a good left-handed hitter, and Jackie Bradley Jr. has been a good hitter in his career, but again, really not at least in the last couple of years. So his OPS plus numbers going way back to 2015. So he was pretty good then. OPS plus of 119. 2016, almost the same, 118. And then in 2017 through 2019, excuse me, he was a bit below league average hitting wise, so 8 OPS plus of 89, 92, and 89 again. So in many ways, Bradley Jr.'s biggest strength has always been his outfield defense. He's a terrific defender in the outfield. 2020, he had a bit of a bounce back season with the bats, OPS plus of 116. Last couple years, excuse me a moment. Last couple years, as I said, the hitting has been way down, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with him. So OPS plus of 34, so 68% worse than an MLB average hitter. And then in 2022, better than that, but still not great, OPS plus of 59. So not quite sure what the Jays are thinking other than get him onto the roster. This is someone who has experience. His defense is still good, and see if maybe surrounded by several other currently good MLB hitters, maybe he can recapture some of his previous hitting strength. I mean, when you stop and think about it, it didn't cost them much in terms of roster space. Doesn't cost them much money-wise, because when you sign a player who has been on another MLB team that season, and then the team releases him, they're still on the hook for whatever his salary was with them. So all the Blue Jays needed to do was pay him prorated MLB minimum, and the Boston Red Sox still have to pay him the rest. So money-wise, in MLB terms, it's not costing them all that much. They're going to take a look at him, see if they think that he can help him, and then they'll go from there. So Mitch White, as expected, he was activated. He made the start on Saturday, and I'll get back to that some more a bit later. To free up a spot for him, they optioned Trent Thornton. But Trent Thornton apparently really didn't go anywhere, and it's a good thing, because he was called back up when, unfortunately, Tim Meza, trying to tag out a runner at home plate, dislocated his right shoulder. Now, it's not his throwing shoulder. As we know, Meza is a left-handed pitcher, but he had a dislocated right shoulder. which apparently they relocated. They popped it back into place, I guess. It's still not a surprise that he had to go on the IL. So hopefully he gets better soon. And I mean, as of now, the Blue Jays don't even have a left-handed relief pitcher. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, Thornton down, up, Mesa to the injured list. So we've got George Springer was also put on the IL. Finally, I think that was long overdue, to be honest. Retroactive to August the 5th. And apparently, soon after that, the plan was to give him an anti inflammatory injection in that elbow that's been bothering him. So, honestly, that this is something I've been saying for a while, and those of us who watch this team on a regular basis, we know that George Springer really hasn't been anything close to his healthy, super productive self in who knows how long. So here's hoping that not only the time off, but especially the injection can really help him, that he can be somewhere close to the full strength George Springer. Full strength George Springer. Yes, tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast. But no, seriously, this player really helps the Blue Jays when he's healthy. So hoping that this will get him as close to fully healthy as possible for the rest of the season. Blue Jays need him, and hopefully it won't be too long before he's ready to come back. Speaking of coming back, Ross Stripling, who was put on the IL about a week ago, he's actually scheduled to make a rehab start tomorrow with the AAA Buffalo Bisons, and then they're going to reevaluate and see if he's good to go, and if he is, because that IL stint was also retroactive, so I believe that he would be eligible to be activated, assuming he's okay, early next week, and then maybe he could just slot right back into the rotation, hopefully. So yeah, lots of stuff going on there. Also, Julian Merriweather, remember him? And he was also sent on a rehab assignment. He's had a couple of outings in the low minor leagues, and he's done well. The velocity is up. He's striking guys out. I mean, I'll be very honest. I'm not getting my hopes up. Would I love to have a healthy Julian Merriweather or a healthy Nate Pearson or both in the Blue Jays bullpen? You're darn right I would. I mean, they could be difference makers. That's if they're healthy and pitching up to their capabilities as far as MLB. I mean, we've seen it with the two of them over and over again. They go on rehab assignments, they get close, they're building up their strength, and then it just seems like something happens. They can never stay healthy. So, you know what, Julian Merriweather, go prove me wrong, please. And that's what I want to see. But at this point, I hear about him, and nothing's moving the needle in my head, because I'm just, I'm not going to get my hopes up again and then get disappointed, but we'll see. So I think that's pretty much it for the transactions over the last week or so. And that brings us into the heart of the order after I have a drink of water. Hey there. Okay, so here we are. The Blue Jays have played 110 games, 52 games yet left to go, so roughly 2/3 of their schedule. They have the third best record in the American League still. They're holding down the first wild card spot. They've had a bit of a rough road trip, unfortunately. We all know, if we've been, again, watching this team, and they went 2 and 4. Hold on, sorry. Excuse me a second. 3 and 5. Thinking about something else there. So it didn't actually start off all that poorly. They split 2 games in Tampa, so 1 each. They split 4 games in Minnesota, 2 each. So one of the old baseball adages says that if you go 500 on the road, take care of business in your home ballpark, and you'll be okay for the season. So they started that road trip through the first 2 cities going 500, and those are against 2 other contending teams. So that was never going to be an easy stretch of games. Had some good games, had some not so good games, unfortunately. Made some mistakes that hopefully we won't see a lot of being repeated again. But so that happened there. And unfortunately, they dropped a couple of games in Baltimore. So they would have been looking to avoid the sweep yesterday. But as we know, that was postponed due to rain. So doubleheader coming up back in Baltimore. They'll be there on Labor Day for another series. So lots of games coming up against the suddenly hot Baltimore Orioles. Oh, joy. That's okay. Our Blue Jays can beat them, but they've got to be at their best. They can't be they can't be taking a game off or anything like that. That they have to be at their best, and I think they can do it. But again, some people jumping off the bandwagon because they have a stretch of bad games, talking about they'll be lucky to even make the playoffs. Do those of you who do that even remember that they came out of the All-Star break going 7-2? I mean, you've got to remember the good along with the bad. If they win, that's equal to a +1. If they lose, that's a -1. A loss is not a -3 or a -4, and some people really seem to take it that way. And well, I'm here to say that I don't think we should be looking at it that way. So I'm looking as a group at the players that the Blue Jays have acquired. Jackie Bradley Jr., I talked about him a bit, so I'm going to put that aside for now. But thinking back to the trade deadline and the 4 major league players that the Blue Jays acquired and how they have done so far. Now, admittedly, it has been a very, very small sample size. So any of this information, good or bad, is, of course, subject to change as the season goes on. Honestly, I look at the 4 of them, and overall, I'm a little more impressed than I thought I was going to be on the trade deadline day. And we sat here and talked about it, and nobody was all that happy with who they added and what they brought to the table. And I'm thinking as a group, they might be a little better than we thought. So Mitch White, he made the start on Saturday, filling in for an injured Ross Stripling. And it's interesting. I mean, they got him from the Dodgers, same as they did Stripling. And White, so far in his career, he's kind of been used similarly to what Stripling has been as well, in that he has started games and he's also been used out of the bullpen. So starting a game in Minnesota, so his first game with his new team, the Toronto Blue Jays, brand new league, because he came from the Dodgers, who were in the National League. And I mean, not good conditions at all. It was raining for a lot of that game. And I mean, definitely not ideal in a lot of ways for you to be making your debut with your new organization. So pitched 4.2 innings. I actually thought they could have left him in for the 5th and maybe give him a chance to win the game if possible. Now his ERA so far with the Blue Jays, again, it's just been one game, not all that great, 5.79, but then you look at the FIP and it's much, much better. It's 2.9. And that's the result of a play in left field that was not made. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., I'm one of your biggest fans, but that did not bring back good memories. He wasn't a great defender for a lot of last year, and I really thought he'd gotten better this year. Unfortunately, that was a little bit of a step backwards. So again, one of the mistakes that I was referring to that hopefully will not be repeated over and over. I mean, if they're going to make some mistakes, now's a better time than doing it when they're in playoff games and it costing them in that way. So excuse me a moment. Anyway, so it's not a bad start. When you look at everything by Mitch White, looking forward to seeing more of him. And hopefully he can be a reliable arm. Be interesting to see what they do when Ross Stripling is ready to come back. And it's if he's already going on a rehab start, it seems to me like it might not be all that long. So what do they do with Mitch White? Does he stay in the rotation? Does he go into the bullpen? Maybe they use him as a long man. I mean, we know that Yusei Kikuchi, unfortunately, he's just so unpredictable. And to have somebody who's a decent backup waiting in the bullpen, somebody who can give you multiple innings, it might not be a bad thing going forward. So that's that. And then the other pickups. So Anthony Bass, I mean, he may not be one of your big name relief pitchers, and there were a few of them that were out there. There were a few of them that were traded to other teams. But honestly, he's having one of the best seasons of his career. And you compare some of his numbers to some of the numbers of pitchers, like the bigger name pitchers, and he's right up there. He's even better in some ways. So they haven't wasted any time getting him into games, getting him into leverage situations. So he's pitched in 4 games, and he's only given up 1 run, and that was the Blue Jays were leading a game by a score of 9-2. They brought Bass in to pitch the 9th, and he gave up a home run. Well, I'm not that worried about him giving up a solo home run with a score 9-2. That's the only run that he's allowed with the Blue Jays so far, so everything else has been quite good. ERA 2.45. FIP a little bit of a concern, 5.30, so maybe he's benefited from some pretty good defense overall by the Blue Jays, so something to sort of keep an eye on. One interesting note, people talk, and so many people talk about how you need high strikeout numbers, especially from your relief pitchers. Well, Anthony Bass, again, so far with the Blue Jays, his strikeouts per 9 innings are almost 10. They're at 9.8. His season average overall, most of which was with the Miami Marlins, is just over 9.1 per 9 innings. That's pretty good. That's higher than Adam Simber at 7.3, David Phelps at 8.6, Tim Meza at 7.1, and Jimmy Garcia at 8.7. So the only regular Blue Jays pitchers who have more strikeouts per 9 innings than that is the all-star closer Jordan Romano, who's at 9.9, and believe it or not, Trevor Richards 11.0. He's been very inconsistent this season. He went on the IL, came back. It seemed like the rest did him some good. He was really good for a while there, and now he's kind of slid back to the pack there. That's rather unfortunate. But yeah, I think Anthony Bass was a very good acquisition. And Zach Pop, he's been in 2 games so far, has yet to give up a run, so that's great. FIP is also pretty good at 2.12. Hasn't walked anybody yet. Strikeouts for 9 innings, and I mean 4.5. Again, it's 2 games, so expect to see that number change quite a bit. And Whit Merrifield, so he's been in 6 games, and the overall numbers are so, not anything to do cartwheels over. Good batting average, 286. His slugging percentage is also 286, so 0 extra base hits as of now. On base percentage, so at 318, and he's got a stolen base. Well, what I'm most impressed with him, and if you saw the game on the weekend where the Blue Jays went to extra innings, and excuse me, and Whit Merrifield essentially stole a game for the Toronto Blue Jays. So tagging and advancing to third when he did, and then tagging and coming in to score, where it looked initially, and he was initially called out, but then the Blue Jays challenged it, and that's that's play at the plate, and the Buster Posey rule, where you're They're not allowing collisions at the plate. They don't want catchers getting injured. And as a part of that, to be fair to the base runner, the catcher has to leave a lane for the runner and not allowed to block the plate unless he was in possession of the ball. And Gary Sanchez did that, violated the letter of the rule, whether you agree with it or not. That's what the rule is. And it was per what the rule is. It was correctly called and overturned, and he's with Merrifield. He scored what ended up being the winning run. And then even afterwards, he talked about how he slid in straight on, knowing the way Sanchez blocks the plate and where he tends to be, and figuring that that's gave the best chance of the rule violation, which went in favor of the Blue Jays. So very, very smart. It seems like this man, he has some intangibles. I mean, I'm all for stats and everything, and I'm still learning about some of the advanced stats, but I'm a firm believer in you cannot quantify absolutely everything. And I think this is one of those cases where somebody has a very high baseball IQ and can do things to help a team win that don't necessarily show up in the stats or anything like that, or in wins above replacement or anything. But the Blue Jays won a game because of him that they might otherwise have lost. So thank you. After 6 games, thank you for your contribution. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what else this group can do, and the rest of the team. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. So that's almost all that I have for you today. And that brings us to Through Blue Jay Colored Glasses. So here we are, dog days of August, as they say. It's 110 games in the books, 52 more to play. And they come on home, starting a series on Friday, and the next few series are against contending teams. And isn't it crazy that the Baltimore Orioles look like they could legitimately grab a wild card spot? Oh man, no one gave them any kind of chance whatsoever going into this season, and they're just really proving the doubters wrong. I appreciate them. I respect them. I don't want them to beat the Blue Jays, obviously, but I appreciate what they've been able to do. And after a few down seasons, they've managed to turn the corner. So, I mean, it all goes to show you there are predictions, there are prognosticators, and preseason. No, nobody's giving anybody a chance to do anything. And you know what? It's very possible to defy the odds. And I don't think that because the Blue Jays have lost a few games, and that it's getting a little closer in the wild card standings. They're only half a game up on the Seattle Mariners as it stands right now. For that first wild card spot, that they could easily slip out and end up as the second wild card, or really anything could happen at this point. I believe in this team. I believe in the talent on this team. I believe that bit by bit, and it's been going on for some time. As I mentioned last week, I mean, they've been building this team for some time. It started years ago with the draft, with the signing of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., with trades as the opportunity arose to get some good players like Teoscar Hernandez, like Santiago Espinal, who have both been all-stars, Russ Stripling, who's been invaluable. I mean, it just goes on and on. Drafting Alek Manoah just a couple of years ago, and bit by bit, finding all of these pieces that come together and end up making a very good team. I don't have any doubt in our guys, because one thing we haven't seen yet is all of the pieces coming together at the same time. We've got some good starting pitching. We've had some good relief pitching, but it's been inconsistent up and down. And the hitters, their overall numbers have been good when you look at the overall stats and the team hitting stats for the season. But again, most of those guys have also been a bit inconsistent. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's been on a hot streak that looks a lot like the way he hit last year, where he was second in league MVP voting. So everybody needs to come together at the same time. I don't think we've seen the best that this team is and is going to be this season. I see a hot streak coming at some point over the rest of this season. They're going to get into the playoffs, and it's not going to come down to the last day of the season like it did last year when, unfortunately, they missed out. They're going to get in. They're going to have a little bit of breathing room, and they can set their rotation for the playoffs, and we can all watch and see how far they can go. I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. And on that note, that's all I've got for this evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's go Blue Jays. See you next week, and let's start a new win streak tomorrow.